Yeah, anyway, like I was saying, the perfect deck list doesn't exist. Brian, hold on, I'm gonna have to call you back. Hello, folks. Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here. I am so excited for this league. So Jesse E sent me a donation asking me to play Rhino Cascade. So for those of you who have been following the channel for a long time, probably about 2 years ago, I played a Shardless Agent Crashing Footfalls deck right after it came out. PVDH sent me a deck list, and it was super cool. And then recently, I came across a really neat deck list, which I tuned just a little bit. I just adjusted like 2 or 3 cards. I don't remember exactly what they were. And I sort of put together this beautiful abomination. So this deck kind of has 2 different levels, which we're going to talk about. So level 1 is the simple Rhino Cascade. Using a Cascade spell like Violent Outburst or Shardless Agent, we will always hit Crashing Footfalls, because if you take a look at this deck's construction, everything in here costs less than 3, so we always hit Rhinos. Asterisk to those of you who are peeping the sideboard already. Now, this is plan 1. So plan 1 is just like make 2 4/4 Rhinos on like turn 1 or turn 2 ahead of schedule using Spirit Guides for mana acceleration. Plan B is super cute, okay? And it's Laelia, the Blade Reforged. Now, this is a card that I was super excited to play with, and I'm very happy has finally made its way to Magic Online. Whenever it attacks, you exile the top card of your library. You can play it this turn. And more importantly here, whenever 1 or more cards are put into exile from your library and or graveyard, put a +1/+1 counter on Laelia. So, we are playing a lot of things in this deck that put cards into exile. We're going to do that with Cascading. We're going to do that with pitching things to Force of Will and Force of Negation. We're going to do that with Spirit Guides. And we're going to do this with Murktide Regent. Okay. I hate Murktide Regent, okay? Like, I would not be unhappy if this thing got itself banned in Legacy. But specifically, the thought of exiling a bunch of cards with a Murktide Regent and then growing my Laelia with that warms my cold dead heart. The other thing about this deck that warms my cold dead heart is Inevitable Betrayal. I have never seen this card before. So it's another suspend card, so we can always hit it with Violent Outburst or Shardless Agent if we want. So, select target opponent's library for a creature card, search target opponent's library for a creature card and put that onto the battlefield under your control. Then that player shuffles. So, your opponent's playing some sweet 12-post deck, you just get to go, I'm taking that Emrakul or equivalent, which is really neat, and I think that's a really cool example of a fringe sideboard card that will utterly hose some matchups, and I'm super excited about it. The other neat thing here is that the way this mana base is constructed, we still have 5 basic lands, so we can also be a Blood Moon deck to hate on the Urza Saga decks that are running around. So we've just got a lot of options here. Also cute is the one of Null Rod for the artifact matchups. If you board out the Crashing Footfalls, you can always hit this if you so desire. I'm super excited to hop into a league with this. Please consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already subscribed, and if you're a regular, throw me a like before we begin. That's the easiest way to support my content for free. And if you have anything to say about the deck list or any questions, just go down to the comments. I always read those. All right, let's battle. Okay, if you watch my content and only watch 1 round of each video, go watch round 4 this time. It's really weird. Okay, round 1 opening hand has a lot of fast mana, but no real payoff. This is a reasonable legacy hand that I could keep if I want to play a fair game. Like, turn 2 Stomp, turn 3 Bone Crusher with Brazen Borrower backup is not unreasonable. But I think we can do better with this deck. Oh my god. Yes. Absolute yes. I'm going to keep this. Now the question is, like, what do I throw back? I probably want to keep all 3 lands because, like, casting this on curve is probably pretty important. And so the question is, do I keep the Force of Will in case my opponent is playing a combo deck, or do I just, like, accept a better game versus a fair deck and be worse against combo? I think I'm going to accept a better game versus a fair deck. Because I'm already looking to beat fair decks here by playing this Crashing Footfalls, so I think I'm just going to, like, lean into that a little bit harder. They're coming. They're coming. They're coming. They're coming. All right. No covered island is probably exactly what I'm looking to see. Um, it's not 100% indicative, but a lot of times when you're playing a snow land, it's because you're playing things like Icefang Coatl, and I am going to be good against those things. So this, a Violent Outburst. That one's particularly good because I can do it end of turn. I should have switched these to snow-covered lands, by the way. Just little optimizations. They matter. I think I'm going to fetch around Stifle. Like, I've gotten burned by Stifle once or twice recently, and I'm not necessarily, like, expecting my opponents to have it at this point or anything, but it's pretty free for me to play around it here. Okay. So now, what's my opponent going to do? Like a Sylvan Library, probably? Ooh. Alright. So, probably some sort of Miracles, Bant Control sort of thing. A Spirit Guide. That's fine. I think I'm going to cast a Violent Outburst at the end of my opponent's turn. I specifically want to wait because there's things like Terminus that my opponent can set up. And I don't want to play Laelia into, like, open Swords to Plowshares mana here. Sure. The Fairy here is a little awkward for me. Narset is fine. Do I let my opponent take the card first? Or not? I don't know that I want them to dig for a Force of Will necessarily. Go ahead and take my Mountain here and attempt a Violent Outburst. Let's go. It's prompting a lot of thought from my opponent for some reason, which I don't understand, because if there's any, like, counterspell sorts of things going on, it should happen once the other spell is on the stack already, not here. Okay. I Cascade into a Crashing Footfalls, which I will cast. Okay. It has occurred. My rhinos get ever so slightly bigger. Narset can resolve now. I probably don't do anything about that. Very Time Raveler coming, huh? That's annoying for this. I don't know that I'm going to get to do much about that unless I happen to rip Force of Will this turn. That's a lot of pressure. Yeah, my opponent can cast a Teferi, and then I can just put lethal damage into play. Do I kill the Narset? I think I will. In the worlds where something goes wrong, I want that to dead. Alright, get in there, little rhinos. Still puts my opponent to 14. I've still got a Violent Outburst that I can do at instant speed, which I think is what I want to do to play around Terminus. And then this puts my opponent into a situation where they might have to, like, play Teferi, and then I bounce. Seems like this is a prismatic ending. Absolutely. That occurs. Alright, my opponent does not have another white for Teferi, so I will just Violent Outburst again. Here come the rhinos. Force of Will pitching back to basics. Yeah, not going to be ideal here. Oh, excuse me? Did they just Force of Will my Violent Outburst instead of the Crashing Footfalls? Oh my gosh. Oh. Alright, let's play Laelia. Absolutely. This is the lethal point of damage that I need to have lethal this turn since I chose to kill Narset. Yeah. Spoilers though, I think we were winning that one anyway. Am I sideboarding here? Game 1 deck felt pretty good. Like, I don't want Blood Moons. I don't want Null Rods, Force of Vigors, Inevitable Betrayal, so it's just like, do I want Fury for a random double striker, or do I want Endurance to help fight against Uro? Endurance is not bad. So it's like, is Bone Crusher Giant's ability to ping things better than Endurance's ability to exile the graveyard? I also could just, like, go more threat dense and board down a Force of Negation. Like, Force of Negation doesn't protect on my own turn. I can use it on my opponent's turn when I Violent Outburst, though. Like, that's definitely a thing. I can also just, like, use it once I'm ahead to protect against things like Terminus. I can also go down a mana source, but I'm, like, really getting nitpicky into theory for what is essentially a one-card difference in my main deck here. I don't think I like this hand. It's really fair. I would like to do unfair things. Multiple copies of Violent Outburst, I believe that qualifies as unfair. I will keep this. Now it's the question of, like, would I like Brazen Borrower to bounce something like a Teferi, or would I like the Murktide Regent as another threat? I think answering an early Planeswalker might be more important than the additional power that Murktide Regent provides. Like, there's 2 Murktide Regents in the deck because they're an endgame thing for my opponent. Like, really dragging the game on. Okay, there's my opponent's land drop. And I will make my own. Beautiful. Absolutely. I will suspend that. Oh, little rhinos. Just gained some points with the TikTok demographic, which is good, because I mostly get boomers who like stacks and pox on this channel. Love you all. Alright, let's see what my opponent can put together here. I am threatening so much annoyance just a little bit later on in this game. Alright, another island rather than another color. Huh. Yeah, counterbalance is going to be pretty good. I mean, this is the sort of thing that I have Brazen Borrower for, right? Alright, so this ticks down to 3. I don't need to fetch around Stifle here. But I know I'm fetching this land, and then I know this is going to be a mountain. I already have my second blue. I'm just going to go ahead and do this. I think I will go for an end of turn Brazen Borrower bounce attempt. I'm not 100% sure. Ooh. That occurs. A Cauldron here would mean that my opponent has a pretty substantial clock of their own. Does that mean my Brazen Borrower now has to bounce that Germ? I think it does. Yeah, Cauldron just dominates me in combat. I have to use this to bounce the Germ, which means I'm going to kind of like slow down on my plan. Yeah, opponent feels favored now. I'm not sure when I am supposed to attempt this. Attempting it now essentially says, like, you need to have a Brainstorm and a land right now, or I get to do my thing. Waiting gives them another draw towards a Brainstorm, but it kind of feels like they have a Brainstorm. I'm going to go ahead and wait here. See what my opponent has to say about this situation. I will potentially just fire off a Violent Outburst in response to... Fuck that. Absolutely not happy with that. So I have to just Violent Outburst here. Alright, so my Cascade occurs. I cast these Rhinos. Please don't let there be a land on top. Come on! Ponder is on top. Alright. So the bad news here is that, like, one of these critters is still going to get bounced by the Teferi, leaving me with a single 4/4. But that should be enough to take the Teferi out of the way. Alright. So, Burial minus on one of my Rhinos. Yep. But I have a 4/4 Trampler that gets to kill the Teferi and ensure that this future Crashing Footfalls has a realistic chance of resolving. And I can also just play another Violent Outburst safely as well, which is a pretty huge boon. Alright, so land drop, send Rhino at Teferi, because I can't, like, do my whole Cascade thing while Teferi's around. The ability to only cast spells while I could cast sorceries is pretty rough. Alright, goodbye. And since I know it's safe, I will just go ahead and play the Violent Outburst here. Like, I know I can't get Terminus here, because I know my opponent's top card is Ponder. I know the Cauldron is coming, but I have an answer to that. So let's cast this. Yeah, so basically, as long as my removal spell on Cauldron doesn't get randomly countered by like another Stoneforge or something being on top with, with counterbalance, I'm pretty good. I'm very confused about this Force of Will. So my opponent had the opportunity. Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, I might get some insight right here. But, like, they could have just countered the Crashing Footfalls that killed the fairy in the first place. Unless they drew the Force of Will off of, the Teferi trigger. In which case that makes sense, and it's not a misplay. True Name Nemesis on top of Library. Bone Crusher Giant. Sure. True Name Nemesis on top. I'm gonna, like, pop that off to remind myself to not, like, just cast this into it. Alright. Big turn here, where I get to learn whether or not Kaldra is going to run away with this game. Okay. So, this comes in. Now I'm going to attempt to cast Petty Theft. Hold on. Actually, does this not work? Yeah, I don't think that works the way I want it to, because not, I believe the mana value of the card is effectively the same as CMC. So, oh, fuck. Oh yeah, I messed that up. Shouldn't have made this attack. Okay. Yeah, alright. That was on me for playing poorly. This one, tipping a little bit in favor of my opponent here. But now I can't really use my mana. Brainstorm is gonna ruin me. My opponent will be able to wipe both of these things. Okay, I eat one, or rather, Prismatic Ending eats one of those. And now, the Cauldron does not bash in. Let's attempt Petty Theft on the Germ here. Oh, it does. Shit, it does have CMC 2. Or mana value 2. Counts as a different CMC. I second guessed myself there in a bad way. I wasn't willing to pause the video to look it up. Alright. That's fine. This is just an illustration of the importance of knowing your rules and interactions in and out. Like, I fell behind because I wasn't 100% sure on that interaction. Alright. So I'm going to attack for 7 here. Now, kind of like the next question is, like, how deep do I go in terms of committing to the board? I can, like, stomp this if I want, or I can stomp my opponent, put them to 9, and then play out a Bone Crusher Giant. Or alternatively, I can play Bone Crusher Giant and Spirit Guide. My opponent has a Batterskull. It's super punishing to not kill this Stoneforge Mystic. I think accordingly, I am going to just kill the Stoneforge Mystic. Or at least attempt to. See what the counterbalance has to say. Alright, Flooded Strand. Alright, that works. So this presumably will also work then. I know Terminus is not the top card of my opponent's library, so even with taking the time off to stomp the Stoneforge, I still have theoretical lethal damage next turn. My opponent has plenty of interaction that can mess with this, such as like a Jace bounce or something, but hopefully I get across the finish line despite my little mistake here. Actually, I know they have the True Name Nemesis, so yeah, I played badly by not holding the Bone Crusher Giant to let that kill the Rhino, let the Rhino kill the True Name via combat damage. Okay, Prismatic Ending eats my other token. Sure. So, my Brazen Borrower is attacking in, putting my opponent to 7. Now the question is, like, when or do I even play this Endurance? I kind of want to play it now on the off chance that my opponent is playing some sort of like Murktide Regent caliber card that I can, or Snapcaster Mages that I can just attempt to neuter. Alright, they're just drawing a land. Absolutely send away your graveyard. And then I will just play this as a creature. Playing this allows me to just like fake an alpha attack next turn and have lethal. So assuming Bone Crusher Giant gets blocked, I have 3, 6, 7, 8 damage, which is enough. Yeah, not happy with how I played this game, but like 50-50 that I can just like pull ahead here. Ooh. What are we working with? A Batterskull, I guess? It is a Batterskull. Oh, that's what I didn't want to see yet. Alright, I have plenty of good draws, but counterbalance is a thing. Alright. How do I beat this Batter Skull? Potentially by forcing damage this turn and then drawing a Bone Crusher Giant next turn. I think that's my plan. Ugh. I absolutely just punted this game by second-guessing myself on mana value for the weird adventure cards. Alright, I'm going to send all these in. See how my opponent reacts in terms of blocks. The Stoneforge might just chump block here to gain 3 or 4 life. Totally reasonable, and then my opponent just uses their turn to hardcast the Batter Skull rather than just put it in via Stoneforge. Okay, sure. That's the expected block, yeah. Okay, so my opponent is going to preserve their life total in a situation where, like, they have a Batter Skull coming. Alright. Doing what I did before, I'm just going to cast this now. It's worse against Counterspell here than it was last turn. Yeah, but if I gave them another draw step and they got to Brainstorm, that would have been pretty bad for me. Alright. Life's bad. Let's see what I rip off the top here. Another Brazen Borrower would do it. Spirit Guide does not do it. So my opponent is going to equip True Name Nemesis with Batter Skull, and then I'm going to lose. Don't really think there's any two ways about that there. Because I don't have, like, a Braids or anything. Oh, there's a Teferi as well. Yeah. Yeah. Yep, I punted this game. Just absolutely punted this game. That's okay. Sometimes you get lost in the sauce. I should have just looked it up, but I didn't really want to slow down the video. Like, assuming this goes to a game 3, like, these games are taking a decent chunk of time. I'm so surprised if anything other than just Batter Skull equip happens here. Okay, sure. Batter Skull equip is just so insurmountable for me currently. Yeah, now my opponent gets to hold up Brainstorm. Ugh. Okay. I will just hold this hand, I think. My opponent's not attacking. Why are we doing this in combat? I don't understand. I mean, then again, I fucked up something pretty bad, so who am I to talk? Yeah. If my opponent's not going to attack with this Batter Skull, like, there's a lot of worlds where I do end up winning this. Okay. Bounce my Endurance. I can't immediately replay it. Probably means that I can't cast this turn because of Brainstorm. Sure, Narset is fine. No, they're going to go past whatever they just did with Brainstorm here. Sure. Jace. Alright. This is probably enough that I'll just concede here. Like, my opponent's got this one. Don't really get any better versus Planeswalkers. I'm a little bit more on board with another Force of Negation now, but I don't know that there's anything that I want to cut. I could cut one Spirit Guide. My opponent has really good inevitability. I don't know, I want this in. Now that I know my opponent is, like, Stoneblade adjacent, maybe I just get rid of Endurance. I don't think Null Rod is worth bringing in. It ruins my Crashing Footfalls here. Okay, I do not like this hand. I'm gonna mulligan, look for something a little more aggressive. Yes, absolutely counts. So I suspend Crashing Footfalls. Well, I could suspend 2 Crashing Footfalls on turn 1. That's real bad versus Teferi. I am keeping this hand. So I think I play just Tropical Island, suspend Crashing Footfalls. Man, there is so many ways to play this hand. Okay. Comments. What is your play? Please use a timestamp to remind me what I'm talking about, because this won't hit the channel for like 3 weeks. What is your way to play this? You could also just Shardless Agent on turn 1 and just, like, say absolutely YOLO if they don't have Force of Will immediately. Then you just, like, suspend a Crashing Footfalls on turn 2. It's just a 2-turn clock. Don't hate that. Honestly, I don't hate it. I think I've talked myself into that. Like, I still just have so much game in the form of, like, more rhinos that are coming later that I think I like this. To just, like, straight up playing this like a combo deck here. Alright. There's my Footfalls. Do you have it? Nope! Accordingly, this was the correct play. An opponent doesn't have it and your combo works and you get to do it on turn 1, it's winning. Now, my opponent can still just Source of Plowshares or Prismatic Ending these things away, but I am going to get a lot of damage off of this. And it makes it just, like, less free to just play out an early Teferi or something. Oh. Oh. Yeah. Speaking of making the Teferi less free. That's 6 damage, puts my opponent to 13, and then I get to do disgusting things. I don't suppose I have a red-green dual land in here. No. So this is accordingly another drop. Don't love doing that, but I think it is correct to jam. So now it is very much just a Teferi that I care about, and it needs to be like Teferi plus a Source of Plowshares or something as well. Otherwise, I just have like so much pressure here. Yep. There's a world where I also just get a Volcanic Island and sandbag one of those for a turn. All right, so just yield to these. I'm never gonna need to respond to these triggers, I don't think. Okay, there's my other color. Crash in for 2. And Fairy's annoying here. Stoneforge also counts as annoying, but that feels potentially beatable. It's very good, but I have so much power coming that I can potentially just make a sacrificial attack in and limp over the finish line here. I'm just gonna thin a Volcanic Island out of my deck. I'm not gonna beat like a Back to Basics or a Blood Moon here anyway, so let's just that's pretty good, right? Not this turn, but next turn is also something that just flies. Yeah. Okay. So I'll get my 2 points of damage in, bring my opponent to 9. Good. And then I'll pass the turn. It doesn't matter that this Murktide Regent doesn't get much bigger. It just, matters that it is something that will be a 2-turn clock through a Cauldron. Okay. Dual spell? Counterbalance is fine. I don't think you're getting to 7 for this Murktide. Alright. These tick down. That's mighty interesting. But I think I don't attack here. No. Maybe I've changed my mind about this Violent Outburst because, I know this Cauldron is coming. I don't think I actually need to make the... No, I can't do the Murktide still, right? I would need another mana source. Yeah, so I guess I am doing Violent Outburst in response to this activation. Okay, so there's the Stoneforge activation. I'll confirm that it is Cauldron coming in and not Batterskull. Alright, it is. So now, while my opponent has no ability to manipulate, let's cast the Violent Outburst. And it's just going to be does my opponent randomly have a land on top? Fuck, they do. Alright, we tried. The Flooded Strand cleared, so this was just random. Do I want to take this card out of my deck? This is my last Crashing Footfalls. Actually, yeah, so it would go back in my deck. I will not cast this. Let's leave the possibility of doing this later. Well, rats. Okay, you get your Cauldron. I will be able to 2-turn via Murktide Regent, though, which is now castable because of the Violent Outburst. So if my opponent has a Brainstorm, they can Brainstorm back that Prismatic Vista, and then... Okay. That's fine. It's a little annoying because my opponent can, bounce their Stoneforge. Okay, sure, that's fine, too. They can bounce their Stoneforge and then, find a Batterskull, and Batterskull on a Cauldron is nightmare food. This does notably make my Murktide Regent way worse. Deck is much less of a glass cannon than I was expecting it to be. We've got lines. Loss is absolutely on me, though. If it comes to a loss. But things are absolutely tilting in favor of my opponent here. So I will cast this, and then my opponent will, unfortunately, reveal a land. Sword of Feast and Famine. That's not it. So my opponent has to Force of Will here because they played Prismatic Vista instead of just saving it to Brainstorm back with that Jace. I'm obviously good with this. I'll cast this. And it resolves. Alright, now I get a Scalding Tarn, which is good. So, now Jace unsummon on Murktide Regent is a little bit worse. I'm going to pick up another red source. I'm going to tap all of these lands. And then there's a question of, like, how many instant sorceries do I eat? I'm going to choose to eat 2. Like, the Murktide Regent is almost certainly getting bounced. There's worlds where it doesn't, but they're pretty few and far between. So, like, I want to save some food for later in terms of things that will actually grow this. Yeah, this has been a slog of a match. Okay, there's a Sword of Feast and Famine. Oh, that is going to cause me to have to discard this Murktide Regent, huh? What? 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 If my opponent attacked with that, I just have to discard this Murktide. I'm happy with this situation now. Okay. So... Oh, I guess there is the whole, like, lethal damage thing. Alright, never mind. I think a back to basics sort of card is already going to beat me. I guess I can start, like, baby hedging against it. So I am just going to cast a Murktide Regent and leave all my juicy food in there, I think, this time around. Okay. A Brainstorm is coming. I don't know why my opponent let me know that they have a Brainstorm, though. Not willing to give up a Rhino here to kill that Jace, I don't think. Like, I could everything attack on this, like, lose a Rhino, lose a Shardless Agent, kill Jace, have Murktide Regent versus board. I don't know that, like, that's any better than just, like, attempting to, like, slowly whittle down my opponent via Murktide. Opponent found Batterskull. Oh, that's annoying. That puts a lot of pressure on me. Yeah, sure. Alright. That's turn. Is there a world where my opponent just hardcasts that Batterskull? Maybe. I think I'm just going to go ahead and do this. I'm going to delve away both of these. In a world where my opponent reveals a Force of Will as well. Yeah. Yeah. So I think I'm not going to attack. There's a weird world where my opponent, like, bounces this Murktide Regent, and then I get to, like, pitch it to Force of Will. Okay, yeah. To counter a Batterskull. Sure. The issue, though, is that, like, my opponent can now look for a blue card for Narset. That's gross. Okay, so my opponent is gonna put in the Batterskull and then equip it with Sword of Feast and Famine, it looks like. That's 3 mana? Oh, just overpaying on accident? Sure. They're moving quickly, I get it. Okay, so I can cast this Shardless Agent. Oh, right. Here we go. This is my final Crashing Footfalls, so I don't get to do this again. Oh, shoot. No, I'm fine. Hold on, am I going mad here? I thought I said... Right, there's snow-covered island on top of Counterbalance? Like, I thought I messed up here? Yeah. I think... So when I cast Shardless Agent, didn't my opponent reveal... Sorry, I'm trying to play quickly here, and it is not going well for me. But I was looking at the chat log. Oh, shoot. They didn't reveal Volcanic Island. I revealed Volcanic Island. Alright, I just fucked up all over the place there. Yeah, alright. Not happy with how I played this game. Discard this. Yeah. If I win now, I just have to win via, like, timeout. Probably the worst on-camera game that I've played in months. No more recording right after the workday is over, apparently. Alright. I'll chill here. Like, there's still situations where I come back from this. But it's bad. Take this hit. Like, it doesn't matter that my opponent gets to untap their lands here. The life matters. I can grow this Murktide Regent. Maybe do something cool. Alright, let's see if I resolve this. Swords to Plowshares is coming. I don't think I get to attack with the Laelia and just fish for another card here. Too bad if it goes wrong. My opponent just fires that off on Murktide. That's fine. And I take 6 here. When it goes to 23. Enough that I can't just, like, alpha. What about now? This is straight up just a combat trick. How am I winning this? Multiple violent outbursts, maybe? I think I'm gonna alpha. And hope that this works out somehow in my favor. Okay. Yield to that. Alright. I have YOLO'd. We'll see where this violent outburst goes. Okay. So I cast Violent Outburst. The whole counterbalance thing happens. It has a snow-covered island on top. That's fine. So I Cascade, which unfortunately only puts one counter on the Laelia here. And I don't end up in a winning position from here. I can replay a new Laelia if I want. That's not really enough here. I'm gonna go ahead and concede. My opponent's got this one at this point. GG's. I punted this one at multiple points. That's on me. Okay, so I've got good news and bad news. The bad news is I'm on the play with the capable, or the good news is I'm on the play with the capable 7. The bad news is my opponent is playing Reanimator. So a lot of what I'm doing here doesn't necessarily matter. I am going to try to play this in a way like where I play my most threatening fetch land in hopes that my opponent doesn't just go for it on turn 1. But this is not great for me. Okay. So that occurs. Do I have any? I have endurances. Okay. So endurance is the plan. I can also play Inevitable Betrayal instead of Rhinos and just like take my opponent's Archon of Cruelty. That's probably better than Rhinos. Rhinos just lose to a Grizzlebrand. Ooh, the Spirit Guide got taken here. I respect it. I am absolutely going to thin my deck of a land here. I just want to marginally increase my chance of drawing a new Spirit Guide here. I did not succeed. Alright, so I can Brazen Borrower, or rather I can Petty Theft to clear a tax if I need to. But I don't know that that's actually good. Grizzlebrand. Oh. That occurs. I have multiple Cascaders, so this is not the end of the world here. Like, I'll just play one, it'll get countered, and then my Cascade trigger will happen, and I can put that stuff into play. Okay, yeah. So I don't think I need to do that now for any reason. That can wait, and I can leave myself with the opportunity of Brazen Borrower bounce. Okay. Note, Cascade is a trigger. This seems like it's just flashing back the Faithless Looting, which is totally fine here. Opponent is at 13. So Reanimate starts to become risky here. Yep, absolutely. This is an Exhume. It is an Exhume. So I can't let this resolve. Well, I guess it's like Grizzlebrand no matter what, right? If they put Chancellor in play, it's actually bad for me to not cast this Violent Outburst here. Ugh. So I can let it resolve. If it's Grizzlebrand, my opponent draws 7. I Brazen Borrower it back to hand in response. Ugh, I don't like this. Multiple creatures in graveyard make this really weird. My Cascade happens, I take my Rhinos. So I don't care that this gets countered. I kind of play around that tax, and it's totally fine. Now I exhume a Shardless Agent to play. There we go. All right, my opponent takes the Grizzlebrand. So now they have to find an unmask effect, or I have lethal. Okay, we got a little lucky there. All right, so are we doing this inevitable betrayal memeing? Absolutely, absolutely. Even if it's not correct, I just like have to do it. So I'll play endurances. I'll play the inevitable betrayal, and then I have to just board in one more card. Can't be Null Rod. I don't know if I want to board in a Fury. It's just like a pretty good thing for my opponent to take from my hand and reanimate. Yeah. I think I'll play one Blood Moon or one Force of Vigor. I don't think either is particularly great. I'll play one Moon. Kind of operating under the assumption that it will not be played in a lot of games. I am 1 mana source away from taking out one of my opponent's big creatures, and I have a Force of Will to back my stuff up. Borderline keepable. I think I'm just going to mulligan it. I have a lot of better hands that I can draw. That's not one of them. What the fuck, deck? Why? Why have you forsaken me like this? I'm not going to keep a no-lander. This is a 4-card hand. I think I just have to keep here and pray. Like, a 3-card hand that both has lands and interaction is basically not going to happen. I'm going to keep this. Pitch, giant, land, Laelia, I think. Because that being, like, reanimated after a discard spell targeting me would be more disastrous. Like, maybe I try to high roll a little bit more, but I think I'm just going to keep my mana sources and hope on this one, and then we'll see how we do with the next game. Like, my opponent kept on 7, I mulled to 4. I'm not expecting greatness here. Okay. Opponent straight up just skipped their turn. Going for the hard discard based line on this turn. Alright. How good is the discard target? Pretty good. Alright. So, kind of weird. Because my opponent then reanimates that Archon, and I get an Archon. Like, they just take it. I guess I, like, get a Grizzlebrand instead or something. I also don't think Blood Moon's on the table this game, so I'm just, like, not going to fetch to play that. Just gonna get a Valk and a Trop and go. Valk, Trop. Play my boy! Inevitable Betrayal. Target you. I can draw 14 if I get a Grizzlebrand. Like, play Grizzlebrand, draw 14 on my opponent's turn. I probably draw some combination of Endurance and Force of Will to get myself out of this spot. Sounds good. Does opponent have any interest in anything interesting? No. It looks like they are playing the main deck again, or very close to it. Alright. So, I guess since I have the Shardless Agent, I could also just get my opponent's Archon, and then, like, it entering the battlefield just sacrifices my Shardless Agent. Okay, that was cool. That definitely makes up for round 1. Okay, well, we have 2 mana, but no actual stable mana. I think I just send this one back. Like, there's a world where this makes a turn 1 Shardless Agent if I draw a land or a Spirit Guide, but the worlds where I don't are kind of sketch. Yeah, this hand's pretty good. I'll absolutely keep this, and drop, suspend, do this on turn 2. Probably means I don't want Force of Negation. Like, I'm either getting rid of Force of Negation or Murktide there, and either way, I don't have Force of Negation available on turn 1, so that probably means that that's just the card that's supposed to go back. Seems like we might get a repeat of another slow blue deck, potentially. Drop time, and we'll just continue with the plan as I originally outlined it. Rhinos! Okay. Yeah, so this is probably end of my opponent's turn, Violent Outburst. Ooh, nice, and I can do it with Force of Will protection as well now. Pretty happy with that. Sure, that's fine. There's some worlds where I'm supposed to just, like, jump on that opportunity. You just, like, cast my Violent Outburst before my opponent can play a card or make another land drop, but I think I'm good with waiting. Here we go! I will Cascade into the Footfalls. Okay, so we might see fetch into a hard cast Force of Negation. Oh no, that's a forest. Yeah, your Ice Fang is a little annoying, but I don't think I counter that. I think I just trade 1 Rhino with it and accept that I have a 4/4 worth of pressure into play. Sure. Like, I can also just draw a Stomp and make that a non-issue. Let's see. So, at Murktide this turn, I'm just short of that. Actually, I wonder if that was a reason to force a will the Icefang Coatl, is like to just be able to immediately play the Murktide Regent. Yeah, I wish I would have made that count. Okay, there's a Source of Plowshares. That's fine. It's annoying. I still get some damage in. I still, like, trade for the Icefang and the Source of Plowshares. I have an end of turn Brazen Borrower if I want, or I can just, like, keep holding up for Force of Will. Fuck this card. This card's so good against my Rhino bullshit. I think I'm gonna fight over that, and honestly, I think I pitched the Murktide. It's just, like, the immediacy of this thing hitting play is pretty good. Oh, Days Undoing, sure. Alright, so I am then going to just cast this Brazen Borrower. If my opponent bounces it, like, it's not the end of the world, but if they don't bounce it, I kill Teferi or take a Lightning Bolt worth of life away from them. That's fine. Hell yeah. Absolutely. So there's Force of Negation to think about. If I play this now, Force of Negation happens. If I don't play it now, it doesn't happen at all, though. So, you know, there's that. Stomp. Yes. Second Teferi would be just absolutely ball-busting, though. Holy cow. Nice. They're coming. They're coming. They're coming. They're coming. Yeah. Oh my god, what a draw. That probably means I cast Bone Crusher Giant, because I can just force a Terminus now and be just totally fine with that. Yeah, nice. Brainstorm. Swords to Plowshares. Absolutely. Fine with that. I still have 8 power in play. I wasn't going to have a 1-turn clock regardless. Start to be less good with that at that point. I think I'll fight. I'll just kind of take my 8 points of pressure and call that... Alright. So, Laelia attacks, which is going to put an... Yeah. So let's yield to that. So, which puts a counter on this, putting my opponent to 2. Now, can I just cast this? Okay, so this says cast, not sorry, it says play, but not without paying its mana cost. So this has no mana cost, so I can't play it. I swear, if this is a miracle Terminus that was blind... Okay, good, good. Don't have to uninstall Magic Online. I have some weird things that I could do. Like, I can do some things that better play around, like Icefang Coatls, but that's kind of whatever. I will probably play 1 Endurance over, like 1 Mana Dork or something and call that good. Again, I don't really have a lot for these sorts of matchups. I think the force effects are important for Planeswalkers. I'm not super good at dealing with Teferi in particular. At the end of the day, my blue count's also a little low. Not playing a bunch of, like, cantrips that artificially bump up my blue count. Okay, so I have turn 1 suspend, and with any mana source in two draws, I get turn 2 rhinos with a Force of Will backup. I think I keep this. Let's see how it goes. Sure. Okay, that's not what I am looking for. What I'm getting. Drop. Suspend the rhinos. No initial play from my opponent here. Your brainstorm is happening. Yep. Fetch and clear, and then probably cast a ponder. Oh, forest. Oh. That's awkward. Very good. Very good. I think I let it happen. Like, I'm not pleased about it. But the way I see myself winning this game is spiking a land and then stopping, like, a Teferi or Terminus level card from happening. So I think I just need to let that happen, especially if I miss my land drop. Like, the carpet is a glorified bird of paradise. Alright. Take this down. Okay. I can get a mountain here. Or, yeah, no, it'd have to be a mountain. I'm maybe good with that. It's a little weird because I have multiple shardless agents in hand, but I'll be able to Violent Outburst next time if necessary. Mountain. Do I just Violent Outburst now? Or sorry, do I Violent Outburst on my opponent's turn? Sure. Makes me less susceptible to Terminus and Supreme Verdict if my opponent were to do that. Okay. Yep. Sure. It's a little weird if my opponent plays like a Jace. Like, do I Force of Will that? Yeah. I probably do, right? It's Jace. Alright. Let's fight over it. I really want this to resolve. But don't know that I'm in a situation where I can risk not killing the Jace in combat. Yeah, an opponent kind of like agreed that the Jace is good for them, but they have to like leave that force for answering the Violent Outburst. That's fair. Opponent's got one card, so if I can keep them from gaining a card advantage source, the Carpet of Flower loses a lot of oomph. I'm super happy to draw this Force of Negation. I would have preferred to have drawn a land, but the Force is a very good second. Okay, sure. No, I absolutely cannot let you have that. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like, I need these to resolve at this point. Okay. Force of Will is not good immediately. It makes any blue card a very good draw, though. Alright. No, right. Carpet of Flowers round 2. Doesn't happen. Footfalls. Cast it. No. No. Waited so long for that to happen. At least I can play an Endurance on my opponent's end step. Like, I have a relevant play. I don't really want to put that Jace back in their deck, but I also don't want to leave the cards in the graveyard for Uro, so always yield to that. I guess that's fine. Let's fetch. Forest is fine for most of my cards. There's Murktide Regent, Force of Wills, Force of Negation, Brazen Borrowers. I think I'm just not going to give my opponent the mana and take the Forest here. Let's do this green boy and send away those cards. It's very possible that I just lose this to an Icefang Coatl, but I think I have to get the show on the road here in terms of pressuring my opponent. Actually, I don't lose this to Icefang Coatl. Opponent has one snow-covered land. Yeah, maybe this is fine. Yeah, both of us are kind of crippled in terms of our resources here and are not operating at full capacity. All right. Bone Crusher Giant is absolutely fine here. I'm unsure if I am supposed to just like jam it as a threat. Icefang Coatl is fine. Again, this does not Death Touch right now. Yep, opponent just eats that damage. Goes to 11. I think I'm just going to pass the turn and try to extract my value out of my limited number of cards. Okay, Carpet of Flowers has added white here. Oh, interesting. So that stops Violent Outburst, but that doesn't stop Shardless Agent because that's an artifact. Yeah, I'll absolutely take that damage. I'll go to 15. I think I still just kill this anyway. Like, it has text against me. And I think killing that will be... Really? Well, I guess that stops the other half, too. I guess that's reasonable. Okay. Force of Will is not really what I'm looking for here. But it stops a scary top deck from my opponent, so I guess that's fine. Opponent hasn't drawn more snow-covered lands or anything, so the Icefang Coatl is not threatening Death Touch immediately. Will the... Okay, yeah. So they're playing around Endurance. I'm gonna like pause for a second on the end step, like I'm thinking about something, like bluffing, like whether or not I want to play this Endurance, and then I'm not gonna do it. Okay. That's fine. That means Force of Will is hard castable. And I think giving my opponent the extra mana is just like totally fine at this stage. I think being able to cast both of these Force of Wills as reasonable spells is much more important than giving my opponent 1 more mana here. Alright, yep. Brainstorm away. Note, their own Canonist means that my Force of Wills are pretty damn good, and that they can't just, like, play another Haymaker this turn at this point. So I'm good with that. Yeah, I'll eat this damage, go to 13. The Ice Fang did not attack. That may be indicative of, like, fetch into Ice Fang Coatl. Do I have to just force that? And is that 5? Really 4, because they're going to want to fetch with Flooded Strand to clear the Brainstorm. I think I forced that. It makes this turn worse for me, because I can't take another, like, proactive play of any kind. Taking, like, Laelia, Bone Crusher, Regardless Agent, worse draws here. Alright. Alright, I force. Hold? Probably hold. Chip in with Endurance. My opponent will probably take the chump block for the life here. Alright. They stay at 5. This is kind of a big turn for them, in that, like, they could play something big like a Teferi or a Jace here, and I don't have my Force of Will up this turn. But my life total was low enough that I think if I don't go after, if I don't protect this Endurance and I miss on threats, like, my opponent has me on a 4-turn clock. Alright, they found a Ponder. The cantrips are, like, awkward to find at this point. Yeah. Alright, I'll play it. This is, like, awkward, like, which one of these I attack. I think it's the Narset. I think regardless of which way I attack, the the Canonist, like, will jump in front to protect the Narset and allow my opponent to get another card out of it. So I don't think it matters all that much at the end of the day. Like, I still think I'm 2 turns away from killing my opponent in a lot of cases. Alright. How much damage can this Narset do? The Canonist is now out of play, so, like, Ponder and Brainstorm and stuff can do cool things. Alright, so second main is going to happen, and then my opponent will make blue mana with Carpet of Flowers, and then, like, do the Ponder Brainstorm sorts of things. That was a shuffle, in good news for me. That was a fast Brainstorm. Ending? Oh, land drop first. Okay. Endurance is now a lethal threat. Okay. There's a second land for Icefang Coatl based reasons. Alright, no shuffle this time. I think my opponent has a Prismatic Ending based on, yeah. Will absolutely attempt a counter, as, like, this is lethal if my opponent can't answer it, but presumably my opponent has set up this turn so that they don't just, like, lose to that. This is not Death Touchy yet. Ah. Damn. Sure. I don't think I fetched to Thin here. Yeah. So, opponent is not really stable. I have a lot of draws that can happen that are very scary, but opponent is now in an advantaged position. Like, I have life. Fuck. Alright. So, Jace Brainstorms. Bait sealing me isn't super great when I have multiple fetch lands in play that I can use to just clear. Oh, there's more. Sure. That probably works to my advantage at this point. Alright, I will take the 1. I don't have any say in it. So here's another game where, like, the Murktide Regent versus Jace thing is happening, and it's just, like, very awkward for me. I guess the Murktide Regent is just lethal, right? Like, that's a thing that I've got going for me. I guess I can pick up a Forest here without giving my opponent any more mana. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, if I play out 1 more land, I can just, like, play Murktide Regent every turn without... Probably don't want to do this. It changes my clock. Alright. 3/3 actual 7 mana Murktide Regent. Gotta love it. Yeah, my opponent can just repeatedly unsummon this with Jace. It locks down Jace's uses, and I get attacked for 3 every turn cycle. But if my opponent, like, attacks while bouncing the Murktide Regent, I can potentially just kill my opponent with, like, a top-decked haste damage source like Laelia. I've got that going for me. Okay, the Violent Outburst is stopped by Canonist. So this is just going to be a few turns of repeat this whole thing until Canonist leaves play. Or the Jace ends up just dying. I maybe am supposed to play Murktide Regent as a big the last, like, the time that Jace would remove its final counter. That way if my opponent decides to brainstorm, I have a larger Murktide. Okay, it's brainstorm time. I don't super like how my matchup feels versus these blue Teferi decks specifically. Like, I think I can do a decent job of threatening the Uro piles, but not so much this. So if my opponent has an Ice Fang Coatl and I attack here, it is disastrous. That said, if they don't have it, or if it's like a Swords of Plowshares or something instead, like, I'm totally fine with that. I don't think I'm pulling ahead here when my opponent can brainstorm. I'm going to go ahead and attempt the attack and see how it goes. Like, Ice Fang. Oh, wow. Wow. Okay. I'll just pass the turn here. If my opponent ends up casting a Terminus or something that they brainstormed, I can just, like, Violent Outburst end of turn. Yeah, get in there, Canonist. I have such sweet spots for Endurance blowouts, but I don't have Endurance. Oh, no Carpet mana. Yep, absolutely can bounce that. Brazen Borrower. Okay. So I have 2 mana for Murktide, 3 mana for Violent Outburst, 2 mana for Brazen Borrower. All that's without fetching. Again, I think mana's not a bottleneck, though. I'm going to go ahead and just play this out. And I am going to make this Murktide Swole here, because answering it via a Jace minus kills the Jace, and if they decide to brainstorm, I want to be able to punish them for that. Hardcast a Force of Will. That's fine. You can have a billion blue mana if you'd like. Jace brainstorms. Is this my spot? Maybe I don't let my opponent know this is coming. Because there's also just worlds where I play, like, an end of turn Brazen Borrower. I just ambush my opponent that way. I'm going to take the 2 points of damage here to do everything that I want to do in the end step. I think that's worth it, given that my opponent is a Prismatic Ending deck and they have like 5 cards in hand. Alright, end of turn. Petty Theft this thing out of play. Oh! Okay. That occurs. I have so much mana. Don't want to die to this Canonist. Such an awful death. Alright. Brainstorm here is pretty rough for me. My opponent has so many cards at this point. I have a bunch of things that kill my opponent. My opponent still also, like, has not turned on Ice Fang Coatl. Just saying. That's a thing that is happening. Turn 18, and they don't have 3 snow permanents to their name. No! No! Alright, Brainstorm occurs on my opponent's side. Opponent has 7 cards in hand now that they've played a land. I'm at 2 life. I'm not super hopeful for my odds of putting together the last point of damage or 2 here. I don't think I'm gonna fetch. If I do something about this Ice Fang or this this Canonist, I don't want to just lose. Okay. I'll attempt. This is a theoretical lethal attack. Nope. Opponent also just, like, straight up could have used Karakas, I'm just saying. I am just saying. Okay. Again, I don't really have much ability to change what I'm doing. Could straight up just play Fury as another creature over, like, a Spirit Guide or something, but it feels like as these games go long, my opponent is just more favored than I am. I can't really be super good at answering Planeswalkers, though. No. Just not happy with that. I'm not really happy with this either. This hand has protection, but it can't actually go off the first time as it stands now. I think I can get a more aggressive 5 a lot of the time. This qualifies. I'll keep this. I think I pitch my pieces of protection here and just keep the things that will allow me to make rhinos twice. Grab Forest. Suspend. I have quite a few theoretical rhinos. We'll see if I can turn them into actual rhinos. Wander away. Ugh. These games are absolute grinds. I think I've said this already, but I expected this deck to be a little more YOLO than it actually is playing out to be. I mean, I think I'm kind of designed to get with this shit. I think I'm kind of designed to do the thing once or twice and like hope that that works. But like these Bant mid-range decks are forcing me to like go longer. Like my deck is very much not designed to go to turn 18. All right. Is there a world where I intentionally miss my land drop to deny my opponent 1 Carpet of Flowers mana? I don't think so. This is gonna sound really stupid to say, but that's a 2/2 body. Like that is absolutely something that matters if we have another like extremely long game again. Don't do it. No. Okay. So I think I'm all in on this card resolving. I think if my opponent stops this either with a counterspell or a Teferi, I'm just like not winning. All right, these Ice Fangs are now on. Okay, sure. And I'll take my 1 point of damage. Okay, this can get me a mountain. I will absolutely to cast this Spirit Guide that I held on to. Alright, opponent is not willing to trade an Ice Fang for that. That's fine. Mountain. Go, Gadget Ape. Alright. Alright, upkeep fetch is fine. And opponent has big haymakers like Jason, Teferi, and such that they can do. Teferi is just crushing here. Alright, seems like they don't have it. Yep. Here we go, rhinos, here we go. Oh, it happened. Nice. So I will attack with my 2 2/2s, and it seems like my opponent is not going to want to block those. Nice. And I'm just going to save the Violent Outburst to do at the end of my opponent's turn. In case I get hit by a Supreme Verdict or a Terminus or something. Or like an Engineered Explosives would be another thing. Alright. Zoom. Okay, we got there. I definitely felt like I was starting to fall behind. Opponent had 4 cards in hand, but not the ability to beat the rhinos. Are we 2-1 now? We're 2-1. Hey, if you made it this far in the video, you're probably enjoying my content. And if you're regularly enjoying my content, consider becoming a YouTube member or subscribing to me on Twitch. Either one's fine. And you can gain access to both my Discord server, where you can chat with me a little more casually and sometimes influence what you see on the channel. And you also gain access to some member exclusive videos. Okay, that's the plug. Back to the show. Okay, so this is a weird one. I have 3 mana on turn 1, but not the correct mana for Shardless Agent. I have red, and blue or green, and I don't get that fixed on turn 2, so I think this is a mulligan. Ooh, no. Far too slow. This is the best of the hands that I have seen so far. Doesn't mean this hand is good, but it's the best of what I've been given. This is a pretty good 5-card hand. Just toss back 2 lands and play some fetch lands. There's a small piece of me that wants to fetch around Stifle here, but like my second fetch land will be vulnerable to Stifle regardless. Okay. So we're probably playing against some like Thought Monitor, Thought Cast, Emery nonsense. Holy fuck. Hey. Do I fetch first? I don't think I fetch first. Yes, this largely puts me in the same position that I was just in. A little different. Do I Laelia first? Like, if I play Laelia this turn, it plays around a Force of Negation type card. No, I think I'll just play another land and Violent Outburst on my opponent's turn. Getting blue, green, and then using Simian Spirit Guide for my red mana. What are we dealing with over here? Sai is fine. Sai is a very good card. I'll just yield to that. Yeah. So there's worlds where my opponent just tries to echo again, and then like it just ends up refueling me. Holy hell. Opponent's hand and opponent's more other hand we're very good. Sure. Alright, so now it's showtime. Blue, green, violent outburst time. Cascade into the rhinos. Nice. Opponent has more gas left than I do. JK! More rhinos coming. Alright. And in the boys, we are seeing the quintuple block. Oh, do I want to kill Sai? Or do I want to just shit on all of these Thopters? Didn't expect my opponent to block with the Sai. Yeah, I guess I'll kill the Sai. That's fine. Worth 4 points of damage. I'll fetch Mountain out of the deck. I will produce more rhinos. Absolutely. Oh, they pitched another Sai, which makes sense. Like, that's something they, like, very reasonably could have had. Okay, they hit an Echo. Opponent is now absolutely ahead. Yeah, okay, they are going for the Echo. Alright. Okay, my hand has drastically improved here. I now have a force effect for something scary. How do I feel about that? Good. There are better things, but it's good. I'm gonna go ahead and junk it. Like, the last thing I want to do is my opponent to, like, Narset and Echo. Hull Breacher. That occurs. I can Bone Crusher Giant if I get into a situation of desperation. Oh, man. Stomp your Hull Breacher. Pitching 2 Spirit Guides. What fucking value. Delicious. Into a new Force of Will. And it removes their graveyard for Emery. I like it. Okay, sure. Alright. Is this finally the end? This is finally the end. Alright, so both these baubles happen. On a new Shardless Agent. I have one Footfalls in exile after everything's said and done. So this becomes fodder for that. Is there any world where I'm playing Endurance? Probably not. But I do want double green in a lot of worlds. So I will go ahead and fetch my forest. Okay. I guess I'll just go ahead and take my attacks now. And then with both of these, kind of see how my opponent treats that. Seems like they just like quadruple block here. Yeah, that's happening. Okay. Opponent goes to 16. I will create more rhinos. Absolutely. This is a very strange kind of fucked up fight. Then I will suspend a new Crashing Footfalls. And I can still do one of Force of Will or Endurance as is necessary. This is a weird game. Sure. No, I don't think I like giving you that degree of value off of all of those artifacts you have. I appear to have no choice in the matter. Alright. So, Sai plus Urza Saga means that, like, my rhinos are a lot less threatening. It feels like my opponent is doing the more broken thing here. Alright, you come over here. Yep. Alright, always yield to Sai at this point. Urza Saga construct is fucking huge. I'm not even gonna bother counting it out, because, like, it's going to change so frequently between, like, Sai and Lotus Petals and, LEDs hitting the graveyard and whatnot. Alright, no imprint there. Alright. I don't know how exactly I win from here. Like, opponent makes 2 constructs that are way bigger than my rhinos. Opponent is going wide of me. I can Bone Crusher Giant away the Emery. But opponent's gonna get Retrofitter Foundry or Shadow Spear and just absolutely wreck me. Ugh. Yeah, I mean, opponent had multiple draw 7s to reload, and I did cool things, but it didn't matter. I'm gonna pass the turn here. I'm gonna play this out for a turn or two. I don't really see the world where I beat this, though. Like, especially if my opponent just grabs a Shadow Spear right now. Like, then that thing lifelinks. And my opponent will gain, like, 13 or so while just totally going through my defenses. Okay, they're just going to go wide further than they're already doing. I'll endurance in response and pretend like that does something. Alright. Send away that stuff. Alright. How do I win? I really don't know. It doesn't trample right now, so I can take a chump block, but like by chump blocking, I am falling further behind. I am going to take out the Emery. It doesn't do a ton right now to kill that thing, because there's nothing relevant in the graveyard. But, I will cast a Bone Crusher. I will cast a Bone Crusher, pitching the Spirit Guide. And I will play towards a world where I somehow get to swing for lethal through both of those constructs. I don't think there's a great attack this turn. Like, I can attack in with everything and, like, just lose one thing, but my opponent also can just start converting Thopters into 4/4s, so, like, I think I'm comfortable throwing in the towel here. Like, I am so clearly on the back foot. Force of Vigors and Null Rod seem good. I am unsure whether or not I always want Null Rod. And by that, I mean I can have a 20% chance of hitting it, like a 1 in 5, if I just put it in the deck. And then that keeps my Crashing Footfalls in the deck as my primary win condition. Or I can hit it 100% of the time and then be kind of bad at killing my opponent. I think on the play, attempting a turn 1 Null Rod just kills my opponent. I think I'm willing to be the Mad Lad on the play. I'm not willing to be the Mad Lad on the draw. I have like other options that I can do here too. I'm not sure what the last card to cut is. I think I'll cut an Endurance. I'm super light on real win conditions here, but I'm hoping to cheese this game. This is turn 2 Shardless Agent, Null Rod shenanigans with Laelia backup. I'll keep it. I also like have Force of Vigor if things get a little weird. Alright, land go. I really wanted the turn 1 Shardless Agent. That's just like so much harder to deal with, but I'll take this. That's fine. What is that? Malevolent, I guess. Alright, let's read this one. Okay, sure. That's fine. That's also fine. Alright. Here we go. Pitch the Spirit Guide. Cast the Shardless Agent. Play the Null Rod. And now I have things like Laelia and Murktide Regent to actually win the game. Here's to hoping this is good enough. Like, if opponent can somehow slip a Psy into play, it's pretty good. Alright. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. We've gotten the concession. Alright. So, is that same plan good enough on the draw? I mean... fuck it. You're here for entertainment, right? Okay. I think I'm just gonna mulligan this hand. I am looking for the absolute turbo Shardless Agent hand. It's not the absolute turbo Shardless Agent hand. It does have a Force of Vigor that I can play while still, like, keeping Shardless Agent type stuff around. I think that means this is good enough. I'm gonna put back the Murktide Regent. So this guarantees that I can have a turn 3 Whoozy What's It. Good Force of Vigor right there. I don't think I'm going to. Sure. That occurs. Okay. They are going for the Echo. At which point it kind of just makes sense to just blow the Force of Vigor on this. Not how I wanted to use that card. It is what it is. With any mana source, I have Null Rod. So, like, that's a thing that exists. I don't think I get to Force of Vigor something here. Like, I can't pitch this Spirit Guide right now with this hand the way that it is. Okay. Alright, I guess this Malevolent Hermit being a mana leak is kind of annoying, right? Yeah. So I might need to, like, Bone Crusher Giant that first and then go off. Alternatively, if I get more mana, I can just, like, Force of Vigor some of my opponent's shit and then go off. If my opponent gives me... Oh, wow. An opportunity like this one, I can also just attempt the Null Rod. So I can now attempt Null Rod off Violent Outburst. I am a little unsure what land I am supposed to grab here. I want red for multiple different reasons here. I think I'll grab Volk. So now, while my opponent is more or less tapped out, I will attempt to cast this. My opponent can sack Null Rod, discard 3 cards, and get rid of this in order to stop this Null Rod. I'm not sure if they actually want to do that or not. They do. Yeah, like, I am good with that interaction. Like, opponent has 2 mana sources, I have 1 mana source. I have a Force of Vigor, and any green card I draw is just batshit insane. I think I'm good with the current situation. Okay, yeah. I'm not to Murktide Regent levels of mana yet. I can Bone Crusher Giant my opponent's face at end of turn. I'm not sure if I want to. Like, it's value, but then an Emery's better. Yeah, I'm gonna wait. Okay, cool. Opponent could have a counterspell here. They do not. Let's go! Alright, yield to the Laelia trigger. And hit my opponent for 3. Yeah, this is obviously very, very, very good. Is this play or cast? Play, so I shouldn't have played this land. Oh, that's a Murktide Regent. Opponent goes to 13. I think I'm probably just supposed to Force of Vigor my opponent's mana sources. Yeah. So I'm just gonna go to their turn and upkeep Force of Vigor both of these. Yeah. Alright, YOLO Null Rod plan is actually good. Whoever designed the list that I grabbed and based my list off of, you're a genius. Alright, we are playing against Goblin's Master, Eli Goings. Let's see. So turn 1, I play Misty Rainforest. Turn 2, I produce Rhinos. Have a removal spell for a lackey. This is totally fine. I think this is like getting Island and Forest, and then like my red source can be wastelandable. Let's play a Vista and just pass here. Alright. Apparently should have fetched that out. Oh, that's sort of awkward, isn't it? No. I can do Mountain, Island, Spirit Guide, green mana. That's fine. Oh, shit. Alright. Okay. Let's not wet this too much. Wish I had... It's fine. It's probably just fine. Spirit Guide, Shardless Agent, Rhinos. Yeah, it's Rhinos with 2 pieces of, like, get a goblin the fuck out of way back up too. Also, apologies, I'm sucking on a cough drop right now. It doesn't appear to be picking up on my mic. If it is, I'm sorry, but I might have fallen asleep with the heat off last night, and it might have been like 60 degrees when I woke up this morning. Alright. That's a 2/2. That eats a Bone Crusher Giant, but... Oh, hey, that's red mana. Hell yeah. Very happy with that draw. Yeah. Anyway, my throat is just a wee bit sore here. So, you want the videos. The cough drop's happening. Eat 10 damage. Opponent's at 9. I have 10 power on board, yeah. Save in A, B. Yeah, I think I get Cave-Ins and Furies here. I don't really want Force of Negations. There's a world where I board in some Endurances, like Force of Will isn't super good against what my opponent is doing. Because Aether Vial lets them cheat on stuff, and Cavern of Souls is a thing that exists. I'm gonna do kind of a quick scan to see if there's anything that I like less than Force of Will. Yeah, not really. Most of these can go. Miser, Force of Will, or Miser's Blood Moon? I think Miser's Force of Will. It's good sometimes. Interesting hand. Playing Trop on 1 is super awkward because it could get Wasteland and then keep me off a Violent Outburst on 2. So I'm not sure that I'm supposed to suspend Wooded Rhino card on turn 1 with this hand. I think despite the awkwardness, this is a keep. Like, minus the Goblin Lackey hands, this is, like, going to be faster than most of what... Fuck you! Most of what my opponent can do. Never didn't have it. Yeah. So, I'll just play Mountain and pass so I can't get Wastelanded too. Yeah. Yeah, that was a pretty decent draw, I'm not gonna lie to you, YouTube. Oh no! Oh no! Oh no! I gave him a smiley face. Rhinos. Alright, Rhinos resolve. They're 5/4s. You know what? I'll block with both. I'll block with both. How about that? Alright. I eat the Goblin Lackey for free. Okay. I am glad I played around that Wasteland. At least to the best of my ability. So I'll send in for my 8 points of damage. I want to go to 11. And then I'll just spend another set here. Removing 4/4s at this stage of the game is pretty hard without Pyrokinesis. Sure. Mog War Marshal's not bad, but these bad boys trample. So there's that. Always yield to this. Guardless Agent is fine. Crash on in for 8. I assume more. Well, Goblin get in front of Rhino. Goblin stop Rhino. And that'll just be my turn. So starting this turn, there's some lines that can get a Rhino off the battlefield using the red-black Goblin removal card, Munitions Expert. Oh, it's a Grenzo. How does this read exactly? Spend mana as though or mana of any color to cast it, sure. So let's see how bad this is. Things can get weird here, but a lot of my stuff is like either bad or expensive. Yeah. Okay, so they can cast a Bone Crusher Giant to trade with one of these. Is that good enough? No, right? Yeah. So I just attack in, my opponent blocks both, and then I trample over for 3 and kill my opponent. Good stuff. Okay. My opponent is reduced to 0, and we end up with a 4-1 in this league. I'm a little sad about that, because, like, I just got off work, fired off the video, and just, like, recorded round 1 while just, like, obviously being groggy and playing like shit. This could have been a trophy. This absolutely could have been a trophy. Overall thoughts on the deck list. Quite fun. Like, this was a very fun league to play. I want something to make the Bant matchup less miserable, though, because holy hell, those games go long. I want some sort of, like, Paradox Zone caliber card for the sideboard so that, like, I just have something that will go over the top of those decks. I really liked Inevitable Betrayal and Null Rod. I really liked Force of Vigor and Endurance. I didn't board in the Blood Moons this league. That said, I'm happy enough to have them there. And, like, Cave-In and Fury are good against the small creature decks like D&D. So I think this is a well-built sideboard. I think this is a well-built 75. I just feel like it needs something to make the control matchups a little bit bigger. That probably means either, like, dropping 1 Force of Vigor and 1 Endurance for 2 cards for that matchups. Actually, no, I don't think there's an either. I think you're either cutting, like, 2 Force of Vigors and, like, leaning on Force and Null Rod, or you're cutting, like, 1 Blood Moon from that plan, or 1 Endurance or something. I think something has to give in these slots to make the control game better. I've got a decent ability to grind, but I can't play something like Pithing Needle to just like cleanly answer planeswalkers and stop them. And I kind of felt awkward about my role in those matchups because like I'm pretty decent at grinding, but I can't stop the planeswalkers, and I didn't run into a lot of board wipes, but I was definitely afraid of them. Yeah, but I enjoyed this league a lot. I hope you all did. If you did, hit the like button. Leave me a comment about your thoughts on the way out. Especially if you have thoughts on the sideboard, because it's pretty likely that I'll end up playing something like this again in the future. If you have thoughts about the sideboard, please let me know. And if you're really enjoying the content, please consider a donation deck list or becoming a YouTube member or doing something else to support me. Have a great rest of the day, folks. See ya.